Investigative reporter Eric Flack shows us their hands have been tied by red tape here in Washington.
Our series, Big Rigs, Big Risks, began with the mothers of children who died tragically in violent underride crashes. Over the past month, we've investigated proposed safety upgrades that could prevent others from dying and uncovered how the government says some of those safety upgrades haven't been approved because they are too costly. Tonight, we give you a peek behind the curtain of Capitol Hill to show you just how hard it is for two moms to get the attention of lawmakers. Grief is the fuel that drives Marianne Karth and Lois Durso.
Trying to make a change is one way we can honor our children.
But the halls of Capitol Hill are filled with roadblocks.
What was the deal with that?
They don't have any rooms available right now.
We first met the two mothers in June outside the office of Senator Cory Booker. Marianne and Lois had an appointment with one of the senator's aides, but the senator's staff didn't have anywhere to put them. So they took the meeting down the hall, literally.
Is that frustrating sometimes when they don't even have a room to put you in?
Oh yeah, we've had several meetings in the hall.
It's happened a few times like that.
Yeah, and we've sat in the lobby, had meetings as well.
Even though they are talking about one of the most personal things you could imagine, the death of their children. Lois's 26-year-old daughter, Roya Sadie, died when the car she was riding in slid underneath the side of a tractor trailer.
It's exceedingly painful. I mean, it's a heartache. I know what heartache is.
Marianne lost two of her kids, 17-year-old Analia and 13-year-old Mary, when her car was hit from behind, then spun underneath the rear of a tractor trailer. Marianne was behind the wheel.
And it was like, I wish it would have been me instead of them, that they had their whole lives ahead of them. And
after the moms met at a trucking conference in March, they decided to take their pain and their passion to Washington, trying to convince senators and congressmen and congresswomen to require stronger rear guards on tractor trailers. And for the first time, adding guards to the sides of tractor trailers, all to prevent underride accidents. Those are safety upgrades the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety in Virginia believes could save hundreds of lives a year, based on crash tests like this one. To carry that message, the women have traveled thousands of miles over the last 6 months, making 6 separate trips to Washington, D.C. Marianne coming from her home in North Carolina, Lois from even farther away in Florida. And keep in mind just how hard Marianne and Lois have to work to get to all of these meetings. There's 6 congressional office buildings spread out all over Capitol Hill, and even more spread out around D.C. And the moms have to try and hit all of them.
Beginning workout.
We took their itinerary from a single day in June, and we retraced the journey.
Distance, 1 mile.
9 offices, 5 buildings,
Taxi!
2 cab rides, security, staff directories, and stairs. The women walking more than 4 miles over 10 hours. Insiders will tell you that this is the way Washington works. But outsiders like Marianne and Lois are fighting so hard to break through the red tape, even their suitcase can't keep up.
Wait, what is that?
It's the wheel.
It's had a lot of mileage.
Yeah, it's been going all over the Capitol, trying to save people.
And trying to get to the elected officials that actually have the power to make change. But until Washington changes, that is hard to do. So far, the moms have had 36 meetings with congressional offices, but only sat face-to-face with senators or congressmen or congresswomen 10 times.
Is the congressman here?
He's not, actually.
Okay, we'll step in here for
Okay,
2 minutes.
all right.
Sometimes they don't even get to meet with the right staffer. On this day, the person they had an appointment with, the one in charge of transportation in Congressman Mark Sanford's office, called in sick.
Are you familiar with truck underride, with what that is?
I'm not, no.
Okay,
So another aide stepped in.
And so it's not the crash that took my daughter's life, it's the underride.
But he didn't have much time to hear their story. The entire meeting lasted a total of 10 minutes and 34 seconds.
We're calling for a comprehensive solution
Like I said, I'll be sure to put
Yeah.
this format and
Yeah, and just one more thing, there's a,
sorry, I'm rushed.
no, that's okay, there's a,
Curious, how do you think that went?
It was way too short.
well, and he was not the transportation person.
Right.
Despite that, Marianne and Lois feel like they are finally starting to crack the DC code, believing that people on the Hill, elected or not, are starting to pay attention to them and are reporting on the dangers of underride accidents.
I think it's making a huge impact. I do. I think that people are listening.
Still, to actually get in front of a lawmaker, they usually have to stop one on the street.
We've written a truck safety bill for underride, so just wanted to say hello.
We're getting some momentum on it, and we'd like to meet with you sometime.
If you call Joey Wender, I want to meet with you.
And when they called for that meeting with Senator Ed Markey, Marianne and Lois ended up getting a staff member instead. As it turned out, the senator didn't have time for them after all. Marianne and Lois aren't the only ones having a tough time getting lawmakers to talk face to face. Tomorrow night, we show you how our calls to Capitol Hill seem to have fallen on deaf ears and what one leading auto safety group says it will finally take to get tougher rules. Eric Flack, WUSA 9.